This is a public service announcement. Please share this information widely. The map behind me from a recently published study shows the general distribution of a type of tick called Amblyomma americanum, also known as the Lone Star tick, which is primarily responsible for causing a type of meat allergy called alpha-gal allergy, which is shorthand for the sugar molecule galactose alpha-1,3 galactose. This sugar molecule is found in mammalian meat except for in humans and certain primates, and when the Lone Star tick bites humans, it causes an immune response that could lead to a long-term meat allergy. Any type of meat product that also includes gelatin could cause severe, potentially life-threatening allergic reactions. It is not always consistent, and the reactions can be delayed by 4 to 6 hours and can make people very sick. The CDC estimates that close to 500,000 people in the United States are living with alpha-gal syndrome. This map behind me is a predictive model of where the Lone Star ticks have been moving, which is further and further north, likely because the temperatures have been steadily rising over the last several years. So it's important to reduce your chances of getting bitten by a tick when you're outside in the summer months. Ticks are typically found in grassy areas or in forests, so cover yourself with clothing, wear bug spray. After being outside, make sure you're taking a shower and doing a thorough tick check to make sure that you find any ticks and remove them as soon as possible.
Scientists say we should breed ticks to bite people to stop them from eating meat. I'm not joking, there's a tick called the Lone Star tick. Its bite can give people a serious allergy to red meat called alpha-gal syndrome. Some bioethicists want to enhance its ability to transmit alpha-gal, arguing that eating meat is morally wrong and making people allergic to meat is actually morally good. Basically, they want to weaponize bugs to control what we eat and improve humanity's moral character. Awesome. Get bitten by a tick, suddenly you can't eat red meat anymore, and congratulations, you're morally enhanced. God made us able to thrive off of meat. And now these guys want to play creator with ticks. Why is being human so hard these days?
Or maybe God wants some people just to be vegan, yo. He made the tick.
This tick right here put 2 people in our ICU this week. I just came off a 1-week shift in the hospital and I saw 2 patients. Both came in with confusion, high fevers, headaches, and really low platelets. Turns out both of them had been bitten by this terror, the Lone Star tick, which by the way is now Maryland's #1 tick and spreading like wildfire across the Northeast all the way here to Appalachia. It causes a disease called ehrlichiosis, but there is also heartland virus and also bourbon virus, each one potentially deadly. And yes, all 3 of them cause encephalitis, meaning inflammation of the brain. And that is how I became involved in these cases. In both of them, the MRIs looked normal, but their spinal tap was a little off. When the test came back, boom, positive for tick exposure. Because I suspected this in the beginning, we started doxycycline, and now they are turning around. Now, here's how you protect yourself. Number 1, wear permethrin-treated clothing. Number 2, use DEET or picaridin spray on exposed skin. Number 3, stay centered on the hiking trails. Number 4, do a full tick check on yourself, kids, and pets, immediately after being outside or in a woody area. Please share this so someone's summer doesn't end up in our ICU with me talking their heads off. Follow for more warnings like this. You don't want a neuro consult, do you?
So, fun fact, ignore my hairy leg. That is a Lone Star tick. See that little white dot? That's where it gets its name, is the Lone Star tick. This is the kind of tick that bit me and gave me my meat allergy. So if you ever get bit by one of these, yeah, they can make you allergic to any mammal meat. So you can't eat venison, you can't eat pork, you can't eat beef, you can't eat, a cat or dog. But anyway, don't let them bite you. They suck.
2 days ago, my husband found a Lone Star tick attached to his leg. We haven't dealt with ticks in a while, but he's working in a wooded area right now, and a tick crawled up his leg and attached to him. I immediately ran to my first aid kit. I got tweezers, I pulled the tick out completely as close to the head as I could so the mouth wouldn't come off into his leg. I got the whole tick out and I threw it in a Ziploc bag, sealed it up, put it to the side, and then this is what I used to treat the tick bite. I got out Earthly's black drawing salve stick. I keep this in my first aid kit. It's great for bug bites, poison ivy, tick bites. So what it does is it draws out any poison or bacteria out of the skin. So I put this on him. We let it sit for about 20-30 minutes, and then he washed it off with soap and water. I next gave him 500 milligrams of vitamin C. This one is the Thrive Market Well Made brand. This has probiotics in it as well, and it has a food complex as well as ascorbic acid. So I gave him 500 milligrams of this. He's been taking 500 milligrams every day since the bite. And I also got him my homeopathic remedy, which I don't have because he took it to work with him. But I gave him Ledum 30C homeopathic remedy, which is for tick bites and other insect bites, but it's really good for tick bites. And he has been taking that 3 times a day, every day since the bite. The state where I live actually has free tick testing at 2 different locations. The Department of Health and then a local university will test the ticks for free. They instructed us to put the tick in the freezer while we were waiting for them to accept the form. So the tick is in the freezer. We are going to mail it out to see if the tick has any type of disease that we should be aware of. Unfortunately, Lone Star ticks are the ones that can contract the illness that actually makes you like allergic to red meat, which is just insane to me. I definitely think that the government made that, and it's not a naturally occurring thing that ticks normally have. So a little worried about that, but we also made him an appointment at his primary care doctor, and they prescribed him an antibiotic to take as a preventative. We normally avoid antibiotics, but in this case, I definitely wanted him to take the antibiotics because of all the tick-borne diseases that you can get from the bacteria that they carry. So since he's taking antibiotics, we are supporting his gut by giving him probiotics after, like several hours after he takes the antibiotics. You don't want to take them together because they'll cancel the probiotics out.
So folks have asked me about this Lone Star tick and red meat allergy. Well, it is true. It does exist. There is a tick that lives primarily in the southeast of the United States. Recently been seen a little bit more in the northeast United States, usually active between April and August. If you get bit, there is a chance, not always, but there is a chance you can develop an alpha-gal allergy, which means you are basically going to develop some sort of reaction to red meat. Now, the symptoms may be just mild itchiness to full-blown anaphylaxis, and so the treatment for that is basically, obviously, avoidance of red meat. Now, the good news is that this allergy usually will wane over time, but the symptoms can last for a year or more in many cases. So the solution to that is temporarily, you're going to be stuck with things like duck, chicken, eggs, emu perhaps, if you're on a carnivore diet. So anyway, that is a real situation, a real disease. Fortunately, it is pretty rare still. I'll do a full YouTube video on this in the coming days. Take care.
Ticks are out of control in the U.S., and the problem is getting worse than ever. First, you have the deer tick, which has black legs and loves shady wooded areas. These little creatures can cause Lyme disease, and they're moving farther north every year. Then you have the longhorn tick, seen here, which came from overseas, hit the East Coast, and is now spreading west. Longhorn tick females can reproduce without mating. A single longhorn tick can lay 2,000 eggs, so they can spread really fast. These critters can make cattle sick, and they can give humans a disease called ehrlichiosis. And ehrlichiosis is no joke. It can cause your brain to swell and your organs to fail. And last but certainly not least, we have the Lone Star tick, which is named the Lone Star tick because of this spot that appears on the female's back. Now, somewhat ironically, because Texas is known for its love of meat, if the Lone Star tick bites you, it can make you allergic to red meat. And it can also give you ehrlichiosis like the longhorn tick. So watch out. Lyme disease and other tick-borne illnesses are on the rise. And with the way things are going, that will not be stopping anytime soon. And to the powers that be for cutting health funding instead of increasing it so we can stop these tick-borne illnesses, you just made the D3 list, a podcast about dumb, desperate, and diabolical business decisions.
If you live in these parts of the country, which is practically half of the US, you should start taping up your legs like this guy every time you go outside. There's this tiny little bug called the Lone Star tick causing massive problems. A single bite from this guy reprograms your entire immune system, causing alpha-gal syndrome, which makes you allergic to red meat, and it can be life-threatening.
I totally agree that alpha-gal syndrome is a growing problem that had its first fatality this year. Alpha-gal syndrome is a serious allergic reaction to red meat, which can cause anaphylaxis, like it did in the case of the first fatality this year. A man who was on a camping trip and barbecuing steak and eating it actually ended up, his body shut down from the serious allergic reaction and died. But people can have lesser symptoms also, symptoms like itching and hives, which sometimes go undiagnosed. The one thing that I want everyone to know about, however, is that you shouldn't be lulled into a false sense of security just because you don't live in one of these states that he named, because alpha-gal syndrome can be spread by ticks other than just the Lone Star tick. I've seen many case reports that come out of the Midwest. And in my state, Washington State, which is considered a low-risk area in the Northwest, alpha-gal syndrome can actually be spread by this tick, the Western black-legged tick, and there have been case reports of this in Washington State and people who never left the state. I want to thank my sister, Dr. Tusa, who first told me about alpha-gal syndrome many years ago, because I've had patients who presented to me after having multiple allergy workups where this was not figured out. And because of her making me aware of this, I was able to guide them to the fact that if, for instance, red meat showed up on an allergy panel, we need to check more. An alpha-gal panel is actually available at both Quest and LabCorp, and so you can actually check for this particular allergy. But no matter where you live in the United States, you need to be aware of tick-borne illnesses. And if you're going to tall grass areas or places like hunting or places where you have a high likelihood of having a tick attach and bite you, you should take the same precautions as he showed you early in this video. So don't be lulled into a sense of security just because you don't live in these areas where the Lone Star tick lives. Be really aware of tick-borne illness and take precautions. And remember, if you've had unexplained allergy symptoms like itching and hives or abdominal bloating, to ask your doctor to check you for alpha-gal syndrome. Again, you can get these tests at Quest and LabCorp, and they are generally covered by insurance. This has been Dr. Emmy.
Low-key freaking out because my son just got bit by a Lone Star tick. I found it on him 2 days ago, and I know that those ticks carry some massive diseases. So tell me if this has happened to you, because I genuinely need to know what to expect. Probably nothing at all is what I'm hoping for. I'm praying that, you know, Jesus heals his body and nothing will attach to his little baby immune system and that it will just fight it off. But give me your experiences. What has happened? Have you been bit by a Lone Star tick? Has your kid been bit by a Lone Star tick? Drop in the comments. Fill this mama's heart up with joy and hope.
Did you know that some tick bites might lead to a food allergy? Over a decade ago, NIH-supported researchers found that Lone Star tick bites are associated with an allergy of a sugar molecule called alpha-gal, which is found in red meat. This allergy includes beef, pork, lamb, venison, rabbit, and even products produced by these animals, you know, like gelatin, milk, and other milk products. The condition usually begins with the bite of a Lone Star tick. While evidence suggests that AGS is associated with Lone Star ticks, other tick bites haven't been ruled out. Ugh. So, after a person is bitten by a Lone Star tick, the bite transfers the sugar molecule alpha-gal into the body. Oh no. In some people, this triggers their immune system, then causes the allergic reaction. Whoops. Most alpha-gal syndrome are reported in the East, South, and Central U.S. There's also a catch to this food allergy. The allergic reaction that occurs to red meat by people bitten by this tick is delayed. So, it usually presents itself 3 to 6 hours after consuming red meat, not immediately. That's dangerous. Be vigilant about protecting yourself from ticks. After being outside, perform a thorough check of your hair and body for any ticks. It's always better to be safe than sorry. Catch you next time.